The scythe, the kama. A harvesting tool, a simple farming tool, can be found all over the world. Specifically, just a small bit of detail, 14-inch handle, 9-inch blade, quite thin blade, and it's flat with a small curvature. It's meant solely for harvesting. But there's always stories of, well, at least the ninja that were under Ieyasu's employ that would have their shearing equipment, their farming equipment, their scythes, just, listening in on others' conversation. To employ this in battle, to employ this in a fight, is a useful tool. This evolves into something much more extraordinary, and the idea was, or a story is, that ninja could, as any peasant, carry this around quite easily in time periods where swords were outlawed for commoners to carry. No one would look twice at a farmer with a scythe. But when it comes to fighting with something like this, this is just simply a tool, so it follows some very specific rules. One of which is simple wooden handle. There's no armor, there's no furniture on it. So that means for pressure on the tang, that's low. 2, you're not intercepting any strikes with bladed tools, and even if you do intercept any strikes with something like that, they're going for your fingers. But you do get some control in that, because the real benefit of this tool is the control. It can grab, and because of that grabbing, you can move around or move your opponent's tools or your opponent itself. And within that grabbing, there's a certain stab action that happens. And because of this angle, it makes it unique that when you have a knife and you stab, of course it's coming straight through, but for a very similar stance and attack angle, that's a perpendicular attack. When going with someone with armor, I think that's the great benefit of this tool. And side note, there's kusari-gama and then just battle kama. Call them battle scythes just for the moment. They'll have steel, they'll have handles, they'll have a variety of different functions that protect it and allow it to capture. The blades, they can be straight, they can be small, they can be bladed, they can be completely unbladed. And I've only seen this recently, like the last year. And it's a scythe. It looks just like a kusari-gama, and it's in black and white, but when you get up really close, it looks more like a medieval European warhammer. It is just a giant spike coming down. I am excited to make this one, because that one, yeah, sure, you can cut, and there's a great benefit to cutting, but because there's a benefit, there's also a weakness, and this steel is going to be somewhat brittle, and a warhammer sure shouldn't be brittle. So by making this a spike, quenching it in oil and doing a solid tempering upon it, I can treat it like a hammer that is a spike to move in and attack armor, to be able to grapple and take down swords and whatever else you want. So hooking, stabbing, when it comes to capturing definitely limbs, but anything bladed, you're gonna have that shield for a moment, but that shield is not so protective because those blades can just turn. If you capture that blade, I need only to remove it over and follow that handle. So, not that I'm counting that as a point down, that I feel anyone that is going to, one, you're being attacked with the scythe, and there's your options, you're gonna have a certain viewpoint. And I think a part of that viewpoint is gonna be not hyper-focused, but definitely, and aggression is not the word, but a forward nature of continually attacking. That this tool is a short range tool, 14 inches. And it's not that it gives you a lot of reach, it doesn't give you a lot of protection. But if you can get in close, that it offers a lot of options, pretty much only at that angle. For cutting, for slashing. That's an unknown. I'm gonna find out, because I think something should be done. But definitely for puncturing, it's going to have a great effect. Now, to actually cut through a tatami is one thing. To cut through, how to word that friendly? To cut through is a lot easier. With a knife, we've got that curvature, and a big part of that curvature, specifically on a sword, it gives you more surface area as you cut through. But a side benefit, the one that I'm interested in right now, it takes a lot of pressure off of the tang and where it connects to the handle. If you were to have a straight blade or a straight sword, when you strike down, that force just, it's a fulcrum. It just goes, is that the right word? Doesn't matter. That's how the force travels. When it's curvature, it can move through and displace that energy, though I'm doing a poor job of explaining it. The point that I'm getting to is when you cut, if I want to cut, I've got to move around that knife to get the cut, because it's meant to strike. This is not meant to strike. This is a completely different beast. This is 3/8 of an inch thick. This is roughly 3/16 of an inch thick. This got a curved blade on both sides. It's got a flat blade on both sides. But the point that is the most important here is that curvature is completely opposite. Because this isn't meant to fight in battles. It's meant to harvest. It's meant to do the best job at cutting. And the idea of that cutting is to travel the majority of the surface area over its target. So having this reach and that movement is really all you need to have maybe captured a limb and apply that movement and then retreat to wait to come into your next opening. You don't want to stick around unless you can actually get full control over your opponent. Back off and come back in again. There's again limited options that you can do, but the options that this tool does allow you, they're pretty damn cool. Then jumping for a moment to what would become a full kusari-gama. What do I mean by a full kusari-gama? Because I rant a lot and use a lot of words. There should be holes, one in the back, one in the top, not usually both. It's usually just one or the other, but that's always there. You're going to have furniture over the tang. As I've just stated, with this being a great cutting force, it means it's going to put a tremendous amount of weight on the handle. It's a farming tool, that weight's never going to be there. Fighting tool, it's going to be. So the battle kusari-gama always have furniture that go down I'm going to call it the spine of the handle. Another thing that even higher ends do, not all of them have that, will have steel spines that go on both sides that furniture holds on to. Now that steel is going to reinforce the handle, but more importantly, now you have something to strike metal tools with. And if you do want to intercept and receive wooden tools, you've got a lot more support that this little, 1.1/8 roughly at that point piece of maple, it's only going to hold up so much. And maybe the most important thing, because I really like my fingers, is that there's going to be a hand guard. But I guess that brings us to the use of this tool. That is just as common of a way to use this. I like this one for just simply its deceptive method. That if you're in a fight, you're probably only taking in so much information and you need to see what's going on. So you better take as much information in as possible. So with that said, if I'm standing in front of you whirling a kusari-gama, and I'm standing like this, switching it through, you know that this rope you need to be most aware of, and this scythe is in your face when you decide to inevitably come in on the attacker. I'm going to call Hanzo's version, or the backhand version. Same scenario. I'm moving back and forth, and I still have full control over where the chain goes. But the blade is no longer in your face. It's like a kamae. That same idea of like, oh, look at how big of an opening I am. I'm so weak here. Having that just as that added protection. So with that big ramble, and as an Isshin-ryu is all right, yeah, we already know this, and they're probably adding a few more things. And for Isshin-ryu, there's a guard here. Now Isshin-ryu is a little different in this point because the kusari-gama I've talked about to this point all kind of have an evolution from the farming sickle. The kusari-gama of Isshin-ryu, and I apologize, I'm probably butchering that terribly, is definitely a wartime tool. Sure, inspired by a harvesting tool, but when you see their blades, not only are the majority of them very straight, a giant point, but also bladed on both sides. That thing's a war tool, 100% entirely a war tool that's just shaped in the old ways of farm tools. And their grip is at the bottom, being able to be held both ways, of course. Because personally, I like the option of having connection points at both sides. I also like the idea of a guard for the hands, and I guess here's the hardship for me. I don't know which one I'd want guarded, but I wouldn't want both of them guarded. So I guess I'm gonna have to have multiple ones.